Joining me now is the Republican governor of Wisconsin, Scott Walker. His new book is Unintimidated, a governor's story and a nation's challenge. Governor Walker, good morning, sir.
Chuck, good to be with you.
Well, when I see a book like this, and here we are, it's a 2014, your own election year's coming up, but I see a book like this, automatically folks start jumping to 2016. Should we be viewing you as a presidential candidate someday, whether it's 2016 or not?
Well, I mean, the nice thing about that question is that it's flattering based upon our performance. I'm certainly not on that list because of some speech I've given or some personal performance. It's what we're doing here in Wisconsin. That's really what the book is all about. People will be surprised. It's not a biography. It doesn't tell about my childhood. It really tells about what we've done in the state of Wisconsin, and we're going to continue to do that and talk about that in the 2014 election.
So give me your diagnosis as to why there is a chunk of Wisconsin voters who said no to recall on you and voted for President Obama over Mitt Romney. Who are these people and why did they do it?
Yeah, it's a bizarre Midwestern phenomena. It's one of those where in the past we've elected Tommy Thompson and Russ Feingold. We were the closest blue state in America twice in the Bush-Gore and Bush-Kerry elections. It's a Midwest phenomena. But what I point out in my book is I think voters in the center more than anything want leadership. They want people to stand up and tell the voters what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. We pushed big, bold reforms in 2010. We got them done in 2011 and 2012, and the voters kept us in office. A few months later, they elected Barack Obama in the state of Wisconsin, just as across the board. And I think in both cases, it was a contrast between big, bold reforms, whether you agree with them on the left or the right, paralleled with campaigns that really said, we're not the other guy, we're not the incumbent. And in states like Wisconsin, and I think probably in other battleground states, that's not enough for voters in the middle. They want leadership. They want people to tell them what they're going to do.
You're implying criticism in Mitt Romney in your book. You don't imply it. You are very critical of his campaign. Not Mitt Romney, the person. I'm happy to make that distinction for you so you don't have to do it. But in particular, you were very critical of the 47% because you thought it opened up a bigger problem for Mitt Romney, and that's this idea that he didn't care about the issues that people say that meant most to them personally. Care about people like me. That question. It's always a very important question. It's more important than ideology sometimes with swing voters. And you thought 47% he lost touch with that. Explain.
Yeah, and I think that the important part was not just that it was politically inappropriate, it was something you shouldn't have said out in public. It's something that really that campaign shouldn't have thought. And my point was, even going back, doing some research all the way back to 1980, because I think many in the Romney camp tried to parallel their campaign very much like the Reagan campaign in 1980 did against Jimmy Carter, thinking if you just make it a referendum on the incumbent, the economy's so bad, voters will put someone new in office. And what they missed was that Reagan really had a very aspirational message. I even list in my book some of what Reagan said as an acceptance speech in Detroit back in 1980 about if you're living in poverty, we want to lift you out of it. If you're living in despair, we want to give you hope, just not hope based on the government, but based on the optimism of the American people. That never happened in the Romney campaign, and I think that 47% kind of made people think, even if they weren't in that category, right, for a lot of people in my state and across America, they felt like they were just a paycheck or two away from someday maybe needing some temporary assistance. And they realized here was a guy who really wasn't concerned about someone either like them or someone that they thought they were not that far removed from.
Well, let's talk about some safety net issues that are in the news right now. Minimum wage. Are you in favor of seeing it raised nationally?
No, it would. I started out just like Paul Ryan did down the road for me, working at McDonald's. Jobs that involve the minimum wage are overwhelmingly jobs for young people starting out in the workforce. The last thing I wanted to do is have fewer young people at the time when unemployment rates are still way too high.
But you know, you can split that minimum wage. Well, hang on. You can split that conversation. I mean, there's some states that even do that now, where there's a minimum wage up to 18, and then as an adult, you have a different minimum wage. What if it was something like that? I mean, when you have a grown adult living on their own, this is not about teenagers. It's about somebody 23, 24, 25.
Yeah, but you know, the answer to that is doing what we're trying to do in the state of Wisconsin, where just as important as adding more jobs, and we'd like to see more jobs in our state, one of the things we're the most proud of is the recent numbers show we're one of the top states in the country for increases in average weekly wages. We've seen our personal income go up, I think, number 3 or 4 in the country in the last quarter. Those are the sorts of things we're doing where we're not just helping create jobs, We're helping employers create better jobs that are career jobs, family-supporting jobs. That's something you don't mandate through the government. That's something you go out and encourage by creating a better environment.
Is there a chance in 2016 that both you and Paul Ryan would be running for president, or there's no chance either one of you would end up in the same campaign?
Well, I mean, to me, I've said, not just because I'm on the ballot, but because I think more important than 16 is 14. We see it in this budget deal that Paul was able to get through. Republicans, conservatives who were frustrated with it, I said the best answer is to go out and help a U.S. Senate candidate in 2014 in Louisiana, in New Orleans, or in Arkansas, or North Carolina, or Alaska, other places like that. So much more so than just the 2016 election. I think Paul and I and a bunch of others are going to be focused on. There's a new United States Senate after this next November's election.
Is Chris Christie conservative enough for the Republican Party of 2016?
Yeah, sure. Sure.
You think so?
Chris is, there's an issue here or there, but that's true just about any candidate out there. But I think if you look at Chris's record, particularly considering he's had a Democrat legislature in both houses there, he's taken on tax reform, entitlement reform, education reform. Yeah, there's a few issues here or there that he and I aren't exactly on the same page on, but that's true of a lot of folks out there. That's true of a lot of other conservatives out there, whether it's John Kasich or Susanna Martinez or others out there. I think you look at any one of the 30 Republican governors today in the United States, and they make a pretty convincing case that they can be a great chief executive in their own states, and probably could make an equally compelling case in a couple of years for the nation.
Scott Walker, Republican governor of Wisconsin. The book is Unintimidated, a governor's story. Somebody who may be running, running 3 statewide races in less than 4 years. Something that will be written about by political scientists 20 and 30 years from now. Governor Walker, Happy New Year, sir.
I'm getting pretty good at it, Chuck.
Yeah, you got it.